if we are going to make the claim that the New Basseterre High School will pose a threat to the aquifer, then perhaps it is that we need to move all of the buildings which are located on the 5,000 acres of land which comprise the aquifer, because the aquifer isn't just on that particular area in which the New Basseterre High School is to be built. The engineers, the relevant professionals, the experts, they have looked at the construction of the New Basseterre High School. They have made certain recommendations. The New Basseterre High School will have a sewage plant being utilized, and that is why the report actually says that there will be no impact in terms of sewage posing a risk to the aquifer, unlike the many other properties that you have on the aquifer which utilize septic tanks, and that is well documented. The report also states that the Basseterre High School is to be built downstream of the aquifer. The water flows downstream and not upstream, so that when we begin to look at risk, I've heard some persons say, for example, in the event of an earthquake, but no matter where you build a school, you still will have that particular risk in the event of an earthquake. And in my view, the biggest risk in the event of an earthquake is actually damage, injuries to students, to persons, rather than persons worrying about water at that particular point in time. But based on all the reports that we have seen thus far, all of the necessary precautions are being taken with respect of the construction of the school.
As you just intimated, I was the project manager of the UNEP-funded project that looked at the possibility of contamination within the Basseterre wellfield area. And I know Ken Richards is a good journalist, and I would invite him to examine, or a matter of fact, I will provide him, once he gives me his email address after this press conference, whereby provide him a copy of what is called the Water Resource Management Plan, which was one of the outcomes of the Ocean Earth Technology report or investigations that were done in the Basseterre wellfield. So you could move away from speculation and get as close as humanly possible to the truth. And the truth will be found in that report. As a matter of fact, I can say that the decision made back then in the 1970s in terms of not using any, utilizing any part of that wellfield, and you must, it has been said several times, and you must have this planted in your memory, that the Basseterre Valley Aquifer spans some 5,000 acres of land. It starts, and you've heard it, I'm sure, many times. It starts in the west at the Olives Mountain. It spans across to the northeast of the Canada Hills and to the east of the Connery Hills. I want that to be implanted in your mind when we start to talk about the aquifer. The wellfield, as the Deputy Prime Minister said, the water runs downstream because of our highly porous soil. When the rain falls, it falls onto the ground, and it percolates underground, and the water settles in the wellfield area. When the ground is saturated, then it runs into the ocean. And we are looking at the possibility of damming that water so we can use the water. We've had that proposal sent to the Water Resources Department before, and there are concerns about the quality of the water and the cost of treating that water. But back then in the 1970s, Dr. Christmas did an assessment as part of his thesis, and the the former manager of the Water Services Department, Cromwell Williams, did his master's looking at that thesis and updating it. But back then, the assessment was done using what we call a borehole technique. The borehole technique, you would drill and you'd miss and find water. There are advanced techniques, which was, as a matter of fact, the good consultant who was here, Sandy Nettles, invented a new technique, which is called the MER technique, which is the multi-electrode resistivity mapping, which gives you, with much accuracy, the physical characteristics of what is underground. And he used that technique to determine that he looked at, for example, the one threat. Because one of the things, one of the concerns was because we had a sugar industry for some 300 years or more, and that area, Ponds and Needmust estates, were planted with sugar cane, and they had the pesticides and so on being used there. Nothing was found there. One concern and a recommendation was made, as well as to the mechanic shops in the area, and because the factory had this from the sugar factory itself, the oils and so on came down, but they were found with no contaminants. But this MER technique gave us an accurate assessment of the physical characteristics down there. And as the deputy said as well, the water runs downstream. And I was born in Newtown, East Basseterre. We went to the Ponds pasture, which is just adjacent, south to where we're building. The Ponds pasture was, as he said, pond. There was no potable water there. There was no drinking water there. The area where we're building the school, and there's a Seventh-day school there. There's no noise about the Seventh-day Adventist school. There are other buildings there. The area where we're building the school, the Basseterre High School, is the area in which there is what we call brackish water. As a matter of fact, if you do your research, you would find there are two wells in the area, one next to the TDC home and building, and one right next to the Newtown playing field. Those wells were never used for drinking water. Those wells were used to irrigate the fields. The Ferraro, I think it's Mr. Ferraro who owned Ponds Estate, watered the fields. You had the highest content of sugar, the best sugar cane used to be grown in that area. So there was no potable water, no drinking water in that area. So I want you to make the point again that the assessment was made, the report is there for you to read. I can provide a copy of the report with you. But back then, you see, water was not a sexy topic, you know. So nobody came to the town halls we had. The media were invited. But now the thing about school and trying to create sensation and trying to play politics, you hear this thing about building on the aquifer. The aquifer spans 5,000 acres. The potable water and the wells, if you drive tonight, you will see them all, the light lit up at the east of the Kim Collins Highway. You see about 5 or 6 wells over there. There's a well right next to the Heroes Park, right? The Conry Well. All around in that area, there are about 6 wells. You see, one next to the Taiwanese, you see it there. Those are the wells that produce potable water, and Needmust. But in fact, what was the concern that was raised, which we are looking at, is the recommendation as it relates to the future use of that area. Because remember, that area, we've been pumping water 24/7 for over 30 years. And the recommendation is, especially in these times of climate change, and you would be aware that since 2015, when we got into office, we had a 55% rainfall deficit. So if the well field is not being recharged and you continue pumping 24/7, then what to do? The physical characteristics, as I said, shows you that there's salt water sitting at the bottom of the well field. And if you continue pumping the fresh water, which sits on top of the salt water, and you don't recharge the wells, then you have a problem. And what we are intending to do is to move the wells, so that's the recommendation, to move the wells north of the airport. North of the airport, we found 2 wells, a matter of fact, at Shadwell. One with 300,000 gallons, I think it is, 500,000 gallons per day, right? And there's another one we expect to get some 300 or 400,000 gallons per day. So we are taking proactive measures to bring the other well online, and even that will help us to mitigate some of the concerns. But yes, all the other technological steps are being taken as intimated by the deputy. So let's not continue to play the politics with this aquifer and this well field and the back. Yes, there's a concern, and I say it to you as somebody born, raised, and still live in the area. And I can assure, in particular, the people of East Basseterre that their water is gonna be safe, always safe, and your team with the administration and your parliamentary representative will ensure that this is done. And when I speak, I don't want to sound boastful. I speak with authority, because as the former Prime Minister said, yes, he called me. He called me when they were about to lose the funding from the UNEP. And I had to rescue the then administration, because they had this money sitting down there and nothing was being done. And when they were about to lose the funding for the project, he called me. And I went into the project, was there for 2 years. So again, when I speak with authority.